The Vanishing Village, Episode 1. The disappearance, nestled high in the mountains, the village of Elmsworth was the picture of tranquility. Surrounded by dense forests and snow-capped peaks, it seemed like a place where time stood still. Life was simple and quiet, with the villagers going about their daily routines, unaware of the impending darkness. One crisp autumn morning, the sun rose over Elmsworth, casting its warm glow over the quaint cottages and cobblestone streets. But this morning was different. As the first rays of light pierced the morning fog, it became eerily clear that something was terribly wrong. Thomas, the village blacksmith, was the first to notice. He stepped out of his cottage, ready to start the day, but found the village eerily silent. The usual sounds of chirping birds and bustling townsfolk were absent. His heart pounded as he called out, "Hello, is anyone there?" His voice echoed back unanswered. As he walked through the village, the scene grew more unsettling. Doors were left ajar, meals sat unfinished on tables, and tools lay abandoned in the streets. It was as if everyone had simply vanished into thin air. Panic set in as Thomas sprinted to the village square, hoping to find someone, anyone. There, in the center of the square, stood Emma, the village baker, her face pale with fear. "Thomas," she whispered, "they're all gone. Everyone's gone." The two of them scoured the village, searching every house, every barn, and every alley. But it was no use. Elmsworth was empty, save for the two of them. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, their sense of dread deepened. They had no answers, only questions. Desperate for help, Thomas and Emma decided to head down the mountain to the nearest town, Riverton. The journey was long and treacherous, but they had no choice. As they made their way through the forest, they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Shadows seemed to move just beyond their line of sight, and strange noises echoed through the trees. By the time they reached Riverton, the sun was setting. Exhausted and frightened, they stumbled into the town square, where they were met with curious and concerned stares. "Please," Thomas pleaded, "we need help. Our village. Everyone is gone." The townspeople listened in stunned silence as Thomas and Emma recounted the events of the morning. The mayor, a stern but kind man named Harold, stepped forward. "We'll send a search party at first light," he assured them. "In the meantime, you can stay here. We'll get to the bottom of this." As night fell over Riverton, Thomas and Emma were given a place to stay and food to eat. But sleep did not come easily. Their minds were filled with images of their missing friends and family, and the haunting question of what had taken them. Little did they know, the true horror of Elmsworth's disappearance was yet to be revealed. And as they drifted into a restless sleep, shadowy figures moved silently through the forest, closing in on Riverton. Thomas and Emma collapsed against the cave wall, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. "What are those things?" Emma whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know," Thomas replied, "but we're not safe here. We need to find out what happened to Elmsworth and how to stop it." As they sat in the darkness trying to gather their strength, a faint light appeared deeper in the cave. With no other options, they followed it, hoping it would lead them to answers. Little did they know, the light would reveal a truth more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. Panic spread through the group as shadowy figures emerged from the darkness, their forms barely visible in the flickering firelight. The air grew cold, and an overwhelming sense of dread washed over them. Harold shouted commands, but his voice was drowned out by the rising wind. The shadows closed in, their movements swift and silent. One by one, the search party members fell, their screams echoing through the night. Thomas and Emma fought to stay together, their hearts pounding with fear. As they backed away from the approaching shadows, they stumbled upon an old, overgrown path leading deeper into the forest. With no other option, they ran, the shadows in pursuit. The path twisted and turned, leading them to a hidden cave. Desperate for shelter, they ducked inside, the darkness enveloping them. The shadows paused at the cave entrance, seemingly unable to enter. Hours passed and the sun began to set. The search party regrouped in the village square, their faces grim. Harold addressed the group, his voice heavy with concern. "We've found nothing. No tracks, no signs of life. But we can't give up. We'll set up camp here tonight and resume the search at first light. As darkness fell, the group huddled around a campfire, their conversations filled with fear and speculation. Thomas and Emma shared their feelings of being watched during their journey to Riverton. Others spoke of strange dreams and unsettling feelings they had experienced since arriving in Elmsworth. Suddenly, a scream pierced the night. The group sprang to their feet, weapons drawn, as a figure stumbled into the firelight. It was Jacob, one of the search party members. His face was pale, and his eyes wide with terror. "They're coming," he gasped. "The shadows, they're coming for us." At dawn, the village of Riverton buzzed with activity. Men and women prepared supplies and weapons, ready to venture into the mountains in search of the missing villagers of Elmsworth. Harold, the mayor, led the group, his face set with determination. Thomas and Emma, though exhausted, insisted on joining the search party. The journey back up the mountain was fraught with tension. Every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs put the group on edge. As they neared Elmsworth, a heavy silence fell over them. The village, once full of life, now stood as a haunting reminder of the unknown terror that had taken everyone. The search party split into groups, each tasked with scouring different parts of the village and surrounding forest. As they investigated, they found no signs of struggle, no clues to indicate what had happened. It was as if the villagers had simply disappeared into thin air,